Do you ever think about potatoes beyond fries, mash, or chips? Beneath that innocent spud lies a history of famine, bioengineering, toxins, politics, and cover-ups. Today, I'm exposing 10 chilling potato scandals that span from ancient crop failures to modern pesticide dangers, from genetic experiments to hidden corporate wars. Each scandal reveals something unsettling: how human greed, negligence, or technology misuse leads to suffering, whether mass starvation, health risks, or cultural loss. By Scandal 10, you'll realize the potato is more than a food, it's a battlefield. These stories come from scientific studies, historical records, legal struggles, and investigative journalism. Grab a tuber, sit tight, because once you know, you can never look at potatoes the same way again. 1. The Great Irish Potato Famine, the original spud catastrophe. In 1845 to 1849, a plant pathogen called Phytophthora infestans triggered devastating crop failures in Ireland, destroying potato harvests year after year. Up to 1 million people died of starvation and another million immigrated before the famine ended in 1852. Recent genetic studies traced the strain that caused the famine to a previously unknown lineage named Herb1, which likely originated in the Americas, Toluca Valley, Mexico, before spreading into Europe. What's often overlooked is how this famine reshaped migration patterns. Over 1 million Irish flood to the US, Canada, and Australia, spreading Irish culture worldwide. Historians argue Britain's failure to act was as devastating as the blight itself, turning a crop failure into a humanitarian catastrophe remembered for centuries. 2. Scottish Highland Potato Famine, less known, same pain. While Ireland's famine is often in textbooks, the Scottish Highlands also suffered a severe potato blight crisis from 1846 to 1856. Repeated failures of potato crops devastated communities in the Hebrides and Western Highlands, leaving many destitute. Unlike in Ireland, relief efforts and charitable responses in the UK partially mitigated death tolls, but policies and land systems still exacerbated poverty and loss. The scandal here? It's not just the blight. It's how governance and land ownership made suffering worse. Spanish colonizers didn't just take potatoes, they erased local agricultural knowledge that had made Andean farming so resilient. Today, indigenous communities in Peru and Bolivia still fight to protect native potato varieties from corporate exploitation, showing how a humble tuber became central to debates on food sovereignty and colonial legacy. 3. Genetically modified potatoes versus pests. Promise or risk? Scientists have engineered varieties like the Desiree potato modified to resist late blight, one of the timeless scourges of potato cultivation. In trials lasting 3 years, non-GM potatoes were heavily infected, while these GM lines remained healthy and produced nearly double the yield. However, GM potatoes remain contentious. Critics raise concerns about long-term ecological risk, gene escape, and safety. The idea of solving a problem with genetic engineering is itself a scandal when downstream effects are poorly understood or regulated. The regime even set strict potato rations, considering them a tool for controlling the population's morale and health. Farmers who disobeyed crop quotas risked harsh punishments. In effect, potatoes were weaponized, feeding the war machine while starving occupied nations, a chilling reminder of how food can be twisted into propaganda and oppression. 4. The Pusztai Affair: Science, Suppression, and Controversy. In the late 1990s, biochemist Irish Pusztai fed rats genetically modified potatoes containing a snowdrop lectin gene. The study claimed rats' stomach linings and immune systems suffered damages, especially in longer feeding trials. The scandal erupted when his institute suspended him, seized raw data, accused the research of flaws, and publicly discredited him. Even though some portions were later criticized, the event exposed how scientific censorship and public fear around GM foods can be manipulated. In the US, Idaho potatoes became a patriotic symbol, marketed as part of the American abundance narrative. Meanwhile, the USSR promoted its harvest statistics, even when falsified, as proof of communism's strength. Behind the propaganda, shortages were common, showing how governments used potatoes not just as food, but as political theater. 5. Sulfites recall: hidden allergens in potato products. In 2012, a dried potato product from China, Golden Snow brand, was recalled because it contained undeclared sulfites, a chemical that can cause severe allergic reactions in sensitive individuals. The issue: labels didn't warn consumers. Even supermarkets in the US were distributing products with high sulfite levels. For those with asthma or allergies, a potato snack could turn dangerous if regulatory checks fail. Green potatoes, laced with solanine, have caused food poisoning outbreaks throughout history, sometimes mistaken for deliberate poisoning. Even today, hospitals occasionally report cases. The scandal isn't just historical. It's a reminder that what looks like an everyday dinner staple can still harbor deadly risks if storage and handling go wrong. 6. GM potatoes rejected for safety. South Africa case. The South African government rejected commercial release of a GM potato variety, Spuntic 2, engineered to kill tuber moths using a gene from Bacillus thuringiensis, BT. The rejection was based on concerns about safety and economic effects, including how dependent farmers would become on patented seed and whether there was enough proof about long-term environmental impact. This case highlights how biotech promises meet real-world complexity. Farmers raised concerns about losing seed diversity, while fast food chains hesitated over consumer backlash. McDonald's famously refused GMO fries at one point. The controversy continues as debates rage over whether genetically engineered potatoes reduce pesticide use or simply hand more control of the global food chain to biotech corporations. 7. McDonald's rejects innate GMO potato. Acrylamide worry. The innate potatoes by J.R. Simplot are genetically modified to reduce sugar and asparagine levels, which are precursors to acrylamide, a probable human carcinogen that forms when potatoes are cooked at high heat. Despite potential health benefits, large fast food chains like McDonald's declined to use them due to public concern and gene silencing risks. This demonstrates how consumer distrust and safety concerns can derail technological fixes, even when they seem beneficial. By the late 20th century, studies showed links between trans fats, acrylamides, and rising obesity rates. Yet many chip companies quietly delayed reformulations, fearing profit loss. What seemed like a light snack was tied to diabetes and heart disease. Even today, lawsuits emerge over labeling practices in the snack industry. 8. Nigeria and indigenous potato gene contamination risk. In Nigeria, over 100 civil society groups, scientists, and farmers protested the planned introduction of GM potatoes, citing threats to health, environment, and erosion of indigenous potato varieties. They argue that trials lack transparency and that GM varieties could cross-contaminate native strains, reducing biodiversity and threatening food sovereignty. The scandal lies not just in technology, but in power. Who gets to decide what potatoes people grow and eat? 9. Government trials versus public fear. Ireland's GMO research battle. In Ireland, trials of genetically engineered potatoes aimed at battling late blight prompted fierce public debate. Local activists argued that GM potatoes harm Ireland's reputation for organic and traditional food. Even though scientists argued GMO options could reduce pesticide usage and increase yields, the backlash shows how cultural identity, food heritage, and public trust collide with modern science. 10. Pathogen origins uncovered. The blight strain Herb 1 and genetic cover-ups. Decades after the Irish famine, researchers sequenced DNA from historical potato blight samples, 1840s, kept in museums. They discovered the famine was driven by a strain called Herb 1, not the US 1 strain previously believed. Herb 1's origin traces back to the Americas before it spread into Europe. Understanding this has implications beyond history. It reshapes how we breed resistance in potatoes today, how we monitor pathogens, and how genetic data can dispel myths that suit certain powers. This cover-up of sorts shows how misinformation or misunderstanding about genetics can impact millions, even centuries later. These 10 potato scandals show a pattern, whether it's famine, contamination, genetic manipulation, or corporate, political control. Potatoes have played a much darker role than we ever learned in school. But knowing is power. Next time you slice a potato or bite into a chip, remember the strain, the soil, the forgotten voices, farmers, scientists, activists who pushed these stories into the light. Demand transparency from seed suppliers, food brands, and governments. Choose varieties deeply tested, know your origin, and support ethical and sustainable farming. If this video shocked you, hit like, subscribe, ring that bell, because the world of food is full of secrets that belong in the open. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, real change starts with awareness.